Wow, what an ending to the game. Estevao in the final moments, securing Chelsea all 3 points. Enzo Maresca getting sent off, but he won't care whatsoever because Chelsea have grabbed the win in the most dramatic of fashion. And it's for Liverpool, it's another disappointing day. It's 3 games in a row now in all competitions without a win. And it almost feels like the slot machine, the system, the side that were so in control and so, I don't even know, what's the word? Confident and comfortable in themselves and the way they want to play now just look like a bit of a mess. And it's quickly in danger of unraveling itself. But if we're looking at purely this game, I think you have to chalk this up to both a Maresca masterclass, but also from Slot, a disaster class in out of possession work. Chelsea today were so well drilled, and I think a lot of it has to do with the way Maresca set up his team. And there was a big inclusion in the starting 11 today, not just in terms of name, but in terms of position that had a lot of people scratching their heads when the game started. And that was Malo Gusto in midfield. Now, I want to bring this back to the JLA tactics board. I say this every time I use it. This is my good friend James Lawrence Alcott's tactics board. He lets me use it, and I would highly recommend you guys go get it. It's linked in my description. But this is a picture basically of how Chelsea lined up on paper today, along with, of course, Liverpool. Now, Malo Gusto, like I said, in midfield was the big name that stood out playing in midfield. People couldn't really figure that out. And in fact, we have seen at times James maybe play in this position with Gusto here, but not today. It was very clear from the first minute. Gusto was the one playing in midfield next to Moises Caicedo. But I think the big question mark was why? Now, Malo Gusto is not really giving you much in possession, right, in midfield. He's a very limited player from a technical point of view relative to most Premier League midfielders. And we saw it, right? He was wasteful. He was very safe with his passing. He didn't necessarily put up a masterclass in midfield on the ball. However, I think that Maresca used him perfectly from an out of possession point of view. And Gusto today was for Chelsea what I would like to call a sacrificial lamb. He was just there to suit the benefit of the system for Chelsea. Nothing was there for Gusto to dominate the game. Gusto was not there to control the game. Gusto was not there to set up chances. He was just there to be a sacrificial lamb for the benefit of the system. And personally, I think it worked perfectly. Now, like I said, this is Chelsea on the ball, but we're going to move it to Chelsea off the ball. So as you guys can see, you got Van Dijk on the ball here, just in this situation. Kerkez, Konate, Bradley, and then that midfield 3. Today, Arne Slot reverted back to the midfield 3 that won in the Premier League last season. Wirtz was on the bench. And as you guys can see, here's the midfield 3 of Caicedo, Fernandez, and Gusto. These guys were practically instructed to go man for man everywhere in midfield. Now, so if Szoboszlai is here, Caicedo is here. Everywhere Gravenberch went, Enzo Fernandez followed him. And Malo Gusto tracked McAllister like a bee. Honestly, everywhere McAllister went, Gusto was right next to him. That then allowed Cucurella to press super high on Connor Bradley. It allowed Garnacho to take over the other center back. João Pedro would have Van Dijk, and Neto would be pressed up on Kerkez. And honestly, guys, Liverpool could not get out of this press. Chelsea pressed them so high man to man and effectively dared them to go long into the feet of Salah, Isak, and Gakpo. And every time that they did, every time that ball went over the top, Badiashile actually dealt with Salah incredibly well today. Achimpong, the young kid, give him credit. This is the Premier League record transfer right here in Alexander Isak. And everywhere he went, Achimpong followed him like a shadow, bro. Everywhere. Isak goes here, Achimpong follows. Isak goes high, Achimpong follows. Isak goes out and makes himself a sandwich. Achimpong is there providing the bread. Honestly, it was a brilliant performance from both of these. And look, this has been a problem position for Chelsea this season, right? Colwill is practically out for the season. Chalobah and Tosin have been inconsistent and injured. Badiashile has barely had a sniff. He's basically, there's an APB out for him, man. We haven't seen him before today. But today, Badiashile and Achimpong, I thought, provided the most balance for Chelsea from a center-back duo we've potentially seen all season. And of course, James followed Gakpo. Now, this was a problem for Liverpool, and it ultimately actually led to the Caicedo goal, which of course was a screamer past Mamardashvili. But I honestly think that while we're going to look at the goal, all of it comes down to Chelsea's out-of-possession work. And I think the decision for Maresca to bring in Gusto is a really ballsy one, right? Because a lot of people will look at that. And if Chelsea don't win this game, Maresca is immediately going to be painted with the brush of, oh, you went in for a draw. Oh, you went in negative. Oh, you went in defensive. Because you're seeing a defender in midfield. But I think this is why you have to give Maresca credit here. I put out on Twitter, I said, I think this is a Maresca masterclass. And people are saying, really, Chelsea weren't that good? I think it was more Arne Slot. But how many managers will have the idea to put Gusto in here purely just to almost be a pest on McAllister? That's effectively what he was. This is very Herrera on Hazard. Just follow him along or around. And I thought he did a really, really good job. Now, last season, if a team were to approach Liverpool this way, I think there was something that was stopping them. And I think you guys know what I mean. If a team dared go man for man with Liverpool last season, the ball would end up going out here. But instead of Connor Bradley, you would have this guy right here. And the threat that this guy provided in terms of long balls, balls in transition, punishing high presses with his passing out the back, I think it made teams a lot more honest against Liverpool because they knew they couldn't afford to cheat like this. Because Liverpool would just hit them with a ball into the feet of Salah here, a ball into the feet of Nunez, or into the path of Nunez here, a cross switch to get them out of pressure. Trent was almost the get out of jail card from the back. Now, that's not to say that, oh, Liverpool lost Trent and everything went to shit. Trent didn't have his best season last year. I'm not delusional here. But the qualities that he possesses at right back made Liverpool a much more unpredictable and a much more difficult team to defend in this kind of manner. And I think that they are kind of missing his passing out from the back in games like today. At the moment, Liverpool are struggling to build out from the back, guys. Seriously, the central progression today was completely blocked out from Chelsea. These three right here, they just clogged up the middle of the pitch. And it made it almost impossible for Gravenberch to receive it when he wanted to and get it out from the back. Or for McAllister to pick it up here. Chelsea just clogged up the middle. They forced them to play out wide. But ultimately, Salah and Gakpo were entirely nullified by their defenders. Now, I'm going to go into Liverpool's out of possession shape now. Because when Chelsea have the ball, I think they managed to expose another thing that is continuously going wrong for Liverpool. And that's the press from the front. Isak is not fit. That, for me, is very, very clear. He is clearly coming back and trying to get match fitness every single game he plays. But he can't afford to press the way he did at Newcastle last season. Gakpo either can't press or doesn't press. This guy's not a good presser off the ball. I've seen enough now over the last season and a half from Cody Gakpo. I think he's a very talented player going forward. But off the ball, I'm sorry, he's a liability. And Mo Salah at his current age is not the guy you realistically want pressing. And last season, I think Arne Slot did a fantastic job of recognizing that. And that Salah would almost be allowed to be as high up as possible, or almost around here, and Dominic Szoboszlai would do all the dirty work for him. Dominic Szoboszlai would practically be Salah's protection. Salah, you get in positions that if we win the ball, you're going to be immediately here. And Szoboszlai will practically do the running for a midfielder and a right winger. And Szoboszlai is one of the best athletes we've seen in the Premier League. He was able to do that. However, that was last season with Luis Diaz here, or Darwin Nunez here. So you weren't effectively having to make up for 3 poor pressers. 3 of them is difficult to do, guys. 1, you can always kind of hide 1 player. 3, you're in trouble. And Liverpool are in big trouble right now with the way they're trying to press off the ball. Because Salah is doing whatever he's doing, and Cucurella has the entire left flank down here to basically pick up the ball whenever he wants with as much space as he wants to. Because he knows this guy's not going to follow him. He knows this guy's not going to be tight on him. And I'm sorry, it's incredibly difficult to defend as a team when 1 player is ruining the defensive makeup. When you have 3 of them, guys, it's impossible. And that's, I think, the biggest issue for Liverpool right now. Now, last season as well, too, Salah, because look, similar to what we said about Hansi Flick the other day, football is all about giving and taking, right? So you can take away some of our defensive makeup, but the flip side of it is Mohamed Salah here, while he's not going to defend, is going to score or assist every single game. His output last season made it worthwhile for his lack of off-ball pressure. This season, guys, Salah has started the season looking as human as he ever has. He's not scoring and assisting every single game. He is not ripping his man apart. He's not necessarily, like, he had 1 ball into the box for Isak that Isak struggled to kind of deal with. It went over the bar. But outside of that, guys, Salah, if his name wasn't Mohamed Salah, he'd be on the bench. He would be absolutely on the bench. He's not effective right now whatsoever. So when he's the Salah of last season, of course, Salah, take your time off on defense, stay as high as you want. Szoboszlai will do the dog's work. But now, when the entire defensive system is trying to make up for 3 guys, not even just one, and those 3 guys are not at least giving you production on the other end. I'm sorry, right now, Liverpool are at a complete disarray everywhere on the pitch. But the problem is, it starts from the front, right? Even the mistakes that they're making at the back, it's the press starts from the front. And if the front press is poor, it all just starts to collapse piece by piece by piece by piece by piece by piece. They always say a goal is a result of numerous mistakes. And that's exactly what's happening from Liverpool. It's not one mistake from Konate. It's not one mistake from McAllister. It's a succession of mistakes. And it all starts from the real poor press that Liverpool have from the front. But genuinely, today, I think this is all about Chelsea. I think Maresca came into this game and perfectly exposed every flaw Liverpool have had in the last few games to perfection. And even when Badiashile had to go out, and who was it? Hato came in at one point, even though at one point, guys, he actually brought on Lavia, but Hato ended up playing here. Just imagine he's blue, right? And even when another center back went out, they still kind of mixed and matched and adjusted. And I have to give him a lot of credit. But it's not just him. I think there's a number of players for Chelsea today that deserve so much credit. Most importantly is, for me, Enzo Fernandez. You guys might be thinking, really? Now, Enzo Fernandez, I think over the last year or so, has gotten a lot of plaudits, but for sometimes scoring a goal or creating a chance in a game where he didn't play all that well. Now, look, the name of the game is to win games, right? And I'm not going to fault Fernandez for scoring and assisting. But as a midfielder, I think your job is more than just scoring and assisting. How are you impacting the game? How are you controlling the game? How are you winning your midfield battle? In my opinion, Enzo has had too many games over the last calendar year or so where I just feel like midfield battles are almost bypassing him. But today, look, I thought Enzo was fantastic. I thought he was fantastic off the ball. I thought he was fantastic on the ball. I thought he was a real presence in midfield. This is one of the better games I have seen Enzo Fernandez play. And for me, I might go as far as saying he was the man of the match. I thought he played an incredible game today. And this is the game where I believe Enzo Fernandez deserves the plaudits. This is the game where you say, okay, I understand today why Chelsea spent all this money on him. Now, we're a long way away from Enzo really fulfilling his price tag. But today, I thought in a midfield of Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, and McAllister, he was better than all 3 of them. And I think that deserves massive, massive plaudits. The other guy I want to give massive credit to is Estevao, scoring his first goal for Chelsea today. But honestly, not just that, the minute he came on the pitch, just providing a consistent threat. Today, as good as Chelsea were structurally, there were 2 players that continued to frustrate me for the entire time they were on the pitch. And that was Garnacho and that was Pedro Neto. Pedro Neto, for me, I'm starting to get really, really frustrated with. I was a big fan of Pedro Neto at Wolves, but seriously, since he's joined Chelsea, I don't think he's lived anywhere close up to the price tag. And the thing with Chelsea, right, is they buy a lot of players, young players, for a lot of money with the hope that they can end up becoming a top player. But in Pedro Neto, he was one of those players that they bought with the expectation that he'd be able to contribute now. Similar to when they bought Caicedo, similar to when they bought João Pedro. Neto was not bought to be good in 3 years. They bought him to impact games now. And I'm sorry, Pedro Neto for me has been a big, big disappointment. One, I think that's kind of gone under the radar when you talk about disappointing Premier League signings. At one point, guys, I was looking at him at Wolves and Olise at Palace and thinking, who's actually the better mid-table winger? You look now, they're galaxies away. And Garnacho, I know Garnacho very, very well as a Man United fan. I've seen every game this guy's played. He is frustrating. That's the name of the game of Garnacho. He's busy, he's energetic, he's direct, but he is very, very frustrating. And between the 2 of them, I think Chelsea might just have the most wasteful wingers in the Premier League. But give credit to Estevao, and of course as well too, give credit to Gittins, who has had a tough few games at Chelsea since joining. But I actually thought today was probably his best performance. But Estevao in particular, every single time this guy pops up on the right and then manages to get a bit of space on his left to curl in a chance or cross in a ball, he looks menacing. Estevao looks menacing. He's a real top talent. And then the goal as well too. Not what you would really expect from Estevao. You wouldn't really picture in your head Estevao getting on the end of last-minute chances like that, diving to get his foot across the line. That's not really what you think of when you think of Estevao, but that just shows you how much he has kind of grown even in the early days of his Chelsea career. Now, that goal that Estevao scores is brilliant from Estevao and brilliant from Cucurella as well too. But I think a big culprit in that is Robertson. If you look at that goal, I don't have the picture in front of me, but just watch the goal back when you have the chance. Robertson in the middle of that move. The move is so close to his own. It's not like it's in midfield and he's doing this, but the ball's basically on the edge of the box. Robertson is seen, and you'll see this, right? Leaning over and almost grabbing his knees. like stretching. I'm thinking to myself, bro, this is the final moment of the game. You didn't even start this game, and you need to be sharp. You need to be alert on your back post. Instead, it's very reminiscent. You guys remember Roberto Carlos for France? Well, some of you guys. Roberto Carlos for Brazil against France in 2006 for that free kick, where he's adjusting his shin pads, and then Henry runs off the back of him. It was very reminiscent of that. Robertson, for a player of that experience, to be almost mentally checked out at the end of the game with a youngster on his back, poor. But honestly, it basically summed up Liverpool today. Their press was poor. Their press was lazy. Their effort levels today as well, too. Extremely lazy. At points this game, guys, Liverpool were practically playing at a walking pace. Now, I can't understand that. I was about to say maybe I can't understand that whatsoever. These are the champions. These are the guys who just had the biggest transfer window in Premier League history, and they have a hungry Arsenal team, not just on their back anymore, level on points with them, I believe now. I think they're joint top of the table now, and they're starving. This is not a performance you would expect from a Liverpool team that we all marveled at last season and all predicted this season to storm the league. So there's a lot of culprits today. Arne Slot has a lot of questions to answer with how his team have started the season, because it almost feels like he's gone away from everything that made his team great last season. Everything. But more so than just that, I think his players as well too. Today, look, I don't really like attacking players for attitude or for effort, but I look at that Liverpool team today, and I honestly don't think they put in as much effort as Chelsea. I think Chelsea overran them today, and that has to be a concern because we're 6-7 games into the season. Premier League, the title is there for Liverpool to contest and challenge and win. This is the performance you give. Really, really disappointing. Really, really disappointing. Now, I'm going to look at another player for Liverpool today, Florian Wirtz. Florian Wirtz was benched in the first half and came on in the second half and almost instantly had a moment of magic that Salah should have finished, right? Wirtz's flick to feed it into Salah. Salah should score that. And you see that flick from Wirtz and you think to yourself, oh, that's more like it. That's the Wirtz that we know and love at Leverkusen. Could this be maybe a bounce back game? I really thought, okay, that could be it. I almost, lean forward my seat a little more. Okay, Wirtz, don't introduce me to a vibe you can't maintain. That's exactly what he did. It's another game from Florian Wirtz where almost everything the guy does not work out. And here's the frustrating thing with Wirtz, right? And I said it last time, and I find it so funny sometimes with football fans. We only notice things when the team starts losing, right? Now, all of a sudden, everybody can see flaws in this and this and this. But Wirtz, even before they were losing, I'm sorry, was putting in the most average performances ever. Now, again, I'm a fan of Wirtz, and I have to hope for his own sake that he comes good because he's a talented player. But everybody's focusing on the intensity aspect of why things are not going well for Wirtz. True. Athletically, he looks a step behind everybody right now. But I'm seeing guys from Wirtz. Genuinely, I'm seeing touches of the ball are sloppy and loose. Passes are sloppy and loose. Opportunities to play teammates through are going behind them. That's not maybe it's about intensity because if you're up to speed with the Premier League, then everything is crisper. Sure, I hear that. But for a player of Wirtz's technical quality and a player that was advertised coming out of the Bundesliga as a creator, those are things for me that I look at as red flags more than I do physicality. Physicality, you have to think eventually he's going to get up to speed the more games he plays. But I'm sorry, for me, the frustrating thing with Wirtz right now is the passes and the touches in the final third are so sloppy. And that's not supposed to be his USP. At the minimum with Wirtz, you should be getting technical security. At the minimum with Wirtz, you should be getting pass completion. Right now, I'm going to say it again. I said it against, who was it? Was it Palace? I can't remember who I said it against, but I'm going to say it again. It was against Everton when they won that game. Guys, there's no difference right now to Wirtz and Mason Mount at the current moment. Current day, he played a great game today, Mason Mount, right? But what Mason Mount is today is effectively what Wirtz is. They're busy, they run around a lot, they make very simple passes, short 5-yard passes, but have virtually no impact on winning football games. And I think that's the issue with Wirtz right now. He was a match winner at Leverkusen. At Liverpool, there's no assertion to him. There's no feeling that he is a top guy. And I'm sorry, he's a guy that cost what, 115, 120 million pounds. For that amount of money, you'd think that he'd come in almost as like an alpha and try and take games by the scruff of the neck. But at the moment, it's very Kylian Mbappe at Real Madrid in the first half of the season last year, where he came in. I remember Mbappe, and I'm thinking Mbappe, he's the ultimate alpha. He's the guy that give me the ball and I'm gonna take you guys there. I saw this guy bag out a hat-trick in the World Cup final, looking elimination dead in the eyes, right? You would never imagine Mbappe's mentality to be questioned. But last season, I saw him come to Real Madrid and almost not crumble, but come in as a little shy kid. Now you're Kylian Mbappe, come through. You should be one of the main guys from day one. With Wirtz, I feel almost the exact same way right now. I'm looking at Wirtz, and it's almost like he's trying to fit in. He looks very meek at the moment, Florian Wirtz. He looks small, he looks shy, he looks unassuming, and he doesn't look assertive. And I'm sorry, big players coming to big football clubs for big amounts of money, the ones who end up working out are the ones that understand, look, I was a good player at Leverkusen, but now at Liverpool, at Real Madrid, at Barcelona, at Man United, I'm coming in to the next level, but I'm also going to take my game to the next level, and I'm going to bring something to the team I'm joining. Wirtz at the moment, it just almost feels like, yeah, I'm here. I'm happy to be here. Let's see how the team wants to play. When I come in, I'm going to try and keep things simple, suit the team. They didn't buy you to do that. They bought you to be the creator-in-chief of Liverpool Football Club, the Premier League champions. At the moment, the guy's a million miles off of it. I'm going to continue saying it. We give him time, right? Because he's a talented player, and what are we going to do? We're going to say he's a scrub? I don't think he's a scrub. But at the same time, too, guys, like, there have been plenty of players that have come to this league, didn't get the time that Wirtz got, didn't get the grace that Wirtz got from the media, right? I feel like Wirtz has actually been given a lot of grace from the overwhelming media. Twitter, social media, it's whatever. But from like pundits and stuff like that, I think Wirtz has largely gotten away with it. A lot of players haven't. And also, we have to be real, guys. There's been a lot of players that have come to the Premier League or come to any league in general after being brilliant for their team. And while we keep saying give him time, sometimes it just never works out, right? I'm going to say a name that at the moment, if I told you before the ball was kicked this season, oh, this guy and this guy in the same breath, you'd laugh at me. But, you know, take a walk with me here. Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho destroyed the Bundesliga. 3 seasons straight, I think he had 20 goals, 20 assists in the Bundesliga. The only player to do that in any top 5 league, I think, was Messi. He was ripping it apart. Came to the Premier League. And in the first 6 months of Man United, first of all, won 007, right? If we're going to go off that. But also looked a million miles off of it. And we continued saying, he's going to come good, he's going to come good, he's going to come good. He never did. He just never did. Now, Liverpool's a much healthier environment for a player to develop than Man United. And I'm not trying to say Wirtz is going to end up being just like Jadon Sancho. But I've seen players come to the Premier League after ripping it apart elsewhere, and it just never clicks for them. So that's why for me with Wirtz, I'm not writing him off, but it's very important that sooner rather than later, he figures it out. Because I'm sorry, first of all, Liverpool don't have all the time in the world to wait, right? They're not at the behest of Florian Wirtz. Oh, whenever you feel like getting back to your best, we'll be here. But also, for his own sake, he's got to get things clicking, man. He does. Otherwise, I'm sorry, just like that, there's a few games now where Arne Slot has just dropped him from the starting 11. It'll become a whole lot more of a regularity the longer it takes Wirtz to figure it out. And then eventually, fans won't start questioning, where are you? Why aren't you playing? Why isn't Slot playing him? So I think for Wirtz, it's massively important that he gets his feet under him and starts at least showing semblances of the player he was before. Because right now, I'm sorry, we're looking at a complete ghost of the Florian Wirtz that was one of the best players in world football just a season ago. I'm a little concerned with him right now. But for Liverpool, boy, I think the person you got to look at right now is Arne Slot, who was so good last season, but right now just looks like it really looks like he's trying to juggle a million different things at once, and in the process of doing so, everything's kind of falling down. You know, you're trying to juggle 50 things, but you end up not juggling anything. Everything is just almost collapsing around you. And as for Chelsea, bro, this is a huge win for them because similar to Liverpool, right? Chelsea are coming off the back of a few disappointing performances. I know they won in midweek against Benfica, right? But in the league, they lost to Man United, they drew to Brentford, they lost to Brighton. It wasn't looking good. Let's call it what it is, right? This is a really good performance from Chelsea, and I give Maresca a lot of credit because he's got a lot of players missing, right? Both his main center backs you would think were missing from this game. He's playing Gusto in midfield, right? Cole Palmer, his best player, is out, and there's a lot of pressure for Chelsea to win. And I always feel like at Chelsea, they're very unlike any other club in terms of when things kind of go bad at a club, it just goes bad, right? But with Chelsea, it almost feels like when things go bad, it like self-combusts. Like internally, it just explodes, and the manager ends up getting sacked, and he lashes out at everyone, and the fans go crazy. It never feels like things go wrong normally at Chelsea. It either goes big or go home. So I think Maresca has done a really good job this weekend of managing the emotions of Chelsea Football Club, managing the emotions of his players, managing the emotions of the fans, and bringing in a performance like this that I'm pretty sure every Chelsea fan will be head over heels in love with. This is a Chelsea performance that if you're a fan, I think you're massively proud of every single player, or 99% of the players that played today. There was effort, there was unity, there was organization. This looked a whole lot more like the Chelsea during the Club World Cup and the Chelsea towards the end of last season than it did the first few games of the season. So let's see. Was it simply a case of Chelsea taking advantage of a poor Liverpool setup? Or is this maybe a chance to turn the leaf? And as for Liverpool, Where does it go right now? Because look, there's a big game coming up for them. And it's against Man United. Let's call it what it is. It's against Man United. Now, on paper, based on how the two teams have played over the last 3 seasons, this should be an easy Liverpool win. But as we know, guys, this game is anything but straightforward. The last 2 games that have been played at Anfield, I remember United go into this game and everybody says, oh, this could be another 7-0. You know, Liverpool are on top. United are struggling. United got a draw the last 2 times at Anfield. Now, I'm not here to say that United are going to beat Liverpool away because they haven't done so since 2016. I'm not here to say United are going to draw against Liverpool away. But this is a difficult game. It's always difficult. Rivalry makes sure that form goes out the window for these kinds of derbies, or for these kinds of rivalries, excuse me. And it's up to Liverpool really to take the game to them and figure this out quick. Now, I think this international break is almost coming at the perfect time for Liverpool. 3 defeats on the bounce. You almost need a mental block. You need guys to go away, and then they come back, figure it all out. But I'm telling you right now, this Arsenal side that Liverpool are up against this year are not the Arsenal of last season. This is not a team that are going to drop easy points. In fact, I continue saying, I feel like they have the highest floor in football. Arsenal are very, very difficult to beat. So relying on Arsenal to drop points as regularly as they did last season, I don't think it's going to happen. Which means that Liverpool cannot really afford too many slip-ups for the next few games. They got to find a run of form quick. Because this Arsenal team, first and foremost, have a very straightforward fixture list coming up soon. But also, they are clicking. And while Liverpool are struggling to find an identity for themselves, Arsenal, you can't say the same about. This team looks like they know each other and they know the system front to back. There is plenty of continuity at Arsenal at the moment. At Liverpool, there isn't. And it's up to Arne Slot, in my opinion, to get things clicking. Because if not, boy, what promised to be such a promising start at the beginning of the season could quickly turn sour. Let's see how it goes. Guys, let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. Maresca Masterclass, Slot Disaster Class, get involved in the comments. I'll try and answer a few of them for sure. And make sure you like, share, subscribe, guys. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers. I think we're roughly halfway to 90. I think we're around 85. The goal is to get to 100,000 before the end of the The goal is to get to 100K before the end of the year. I always say this. I can only do it with your guys' help. But please help a brother out. Show some support. I'd greatly appreciate that. And we will be back very, very soon for the next video. Peace.